There it is. You asked for it. Splice deliver, Ender. It is the Thresh for Svenskeren.
Yep, I like this a whole lot coming through from Splice. Has the ability to proc those plasma stacks relatively easily. Also with the Lantern, very good lane gank setup too for a champion like Xerxes, like the Gragas coming through from Xerxes into the bottom lane. And a lot of games, Splice love to play around this 2 versus 2 in the bottom lane with initiation tools. We've seen stuff like the Veigar cage next to the Thresh in the past, and while Kaisa won't have that same CC, the Thresh always opens up those gank routes.
I wonder if Splice is going to ban out Morgana. They've already taken Blitz away, which is considered a very good answer to the Thresh. So Morgana, I think, would pair well with the Xayah, be a good answer to some of the initiation here. Also works incredibly well alongside Kayle, because Kayle ultimate plus Morgana shield equals immunity to everything.
And you also have J-Team now banning away these longer range scaling options that you can take up against the Kayle later on. So I think Tristana, that's a mid lane focused ban here. Maybe even a Corki too, something we saw Humanoid play a whole lot during the regular season, but removing the scaling outranging tools as well.
And removing the Morgana as well as predicted, Zeyzal. So limiting some of the more comfortable options for the bottom side of J-Team. See what Koala wants to go to. So many supports have been banned away in the draft now. 4. He's going to have to drop down the tier list a little bit to find something, but the Akali will be the final ban as we head into the next pick phase.
It could be something very defensive, like the Braum, if he doesn't really want to commit too heavily, but most of the common pairings really are already gone. You can go to a range support and try to bully a lane, but that always has a pretty high risk against something like Thresh plus Gragas.
Yeah, so now I'm thinking Gnar comes through from Vizicachi. This is one of those blind pick options we mentioned earlier. And now Splice get to wait out. Is the Kayle definitely going into the mid laner's hands for Fofo? That's where we've seen it most throughout this tournament, definitely. But they can give that counter pick, as you mentioned, much earlier towards Humanoid.
I want to see if Rest is going to go for something aggressive. Does he bring out the Aurelia? Does he have the confidence to try to slam this Gnar in lane? Because he is sitting with counter pick right now. Kled, it can be something that works in the Gnar. It is pretty difficult because you have to hit multiple Joust Qs to be able to kind of get his jump on cooldown, and then you can maybe all in. So you have to play it really, really aggressively, and we'll see if it works out.
I mean, the potential for the double flex is there, even if it feels unlikely. If Gnar just wants to farm it on the top side, Kayle could look to match, so potentially locking that in as they feel they can put it in both positions, but the Alistar will be the final pick into the Thresh Kaisa lane.
I think it's going to be Kayle mid almost for sure. It can be pretty difficult playing Kayle in the long lane, especially in the early levels with ganking options like Gragas around there. So giving Kayle the defensive ability to kind of sit back, and this is one of Humanoid's champions that he's really well known for.
And you talk about late game scaling insurance, the Cassiopeia is definitely going to be there. And against all these targets that are going to be stacking a ton of HP, stuff like the Twin Fangs, Liandry's Torment alongside it is going to give you the ability to cut through the front line. That 2v2 pair of Cassio and Kaisa will be absolutely devastating later on in the match.
I also think it's an incredible disengage or counter-engage type tool. When you have the Kled ultimate flying in, everyone running through, you have the Svenskeren box coming out from the Thresh, you have the Miasma to be able to actually slow down and block a lot of these people who are trying to dash in on top of you, the ultimate Gragas to split people up. So a lot of tools here for Splice to absorb and then counter engage.
And to also just punish inside the laning phase. Kayle needs time to scale up. You're going to get punished every single time you walk into last hit in this laning phase. So both sides have good teamfight tools. I personally think Splice have so many good options in disengage, engage. They've got it all.
Both teams building pretty fantastic comps. Splice finally getting something that they should. And here we go, J-Team versus Splice. Splice looking to tie it up, but both teams at 2-2. This J-Team will look to pull ahead. And already, it looks like there will not be a lane swap. Good news, I think, for many Splice fans.
When I look to the top side of the map, I really do like the choice of Grasp here. Fleet Footwork actually heals you very little in the early game in these types of matchups, and really all Gnar has to do is avoid being all in, right? You're stacking up HP with this, a lot of the resolve, as well as splashing into domination here for more healing there from Taste for Blood and things like this is going to make it really tough for the Kled to all in you, and if you can't all in the Gnar, you don't really have much going on in this matchup.
Yeah, I wonder if Vizicachi even has the Demolish there as a range versus melee matchup. You assume he has push advantage too, and while Gnar is pretty low range in those early levels before he does get to scale up, can look for plates in this matchup. The one thing I am a little bit concerned about for Vizicachi is this is a player that often receives a lot of jungle attention. but from the enemy jungler. He gets ganked a whole lot in the top lane, and if he does expose himself, I think the Jarvan at level 2 can instantly look for plays around the top side of the map.
And Bear Trap on a rope will connect, so a small but positive trade. Clutch is going to continue walking forward.
He's got
Vizicsacsi,
Conqueror.
He's just going to keep walking him down.
He's going to come
is
back
blocked.
up.
He's going to go to grab him again. Vizicsacsi flashing.
Oh!
Just barely missing the flash. That might cost him his life. Kled now. Pocket Pistol takes him away. Conqueror still taxed. He's still healing up to a certain degree. Trying to step forward. The barrel hits. First blood. Good for Splyce, but that has to feel so bad for Rest.
It was off to such a good start for Rest as well. You know, this guy had burned the flash from Vizicsacsi, but is late to follow. And then Xerxes is on the Raptors. Rest had made the call thinking Xerxes maybe he's on the bottom side of the map, but that was just not forward thinking. And now he's out of TP, a flash, and a kill.
Yeah, what he really had to do was pre-flash. You got to flash early so you're right on top of him. So even if he flashes, then you can actually pull him back. And I think you get that first blood if you early flash.
Or, and hear me out, Zeyzal, don't flash into the fog of war when you don't know where the enemy jungler is.
I think you can actually not die. If you go in, if you pre-flash, I think you have the possibility of killing that Gnar. And I don't think that a jungler can solo kill you before you can remount.
Yeah, I mean, if he remounts, yeah, he definitely turns that around.
And all I'll say is, I respect the aggressive option. I respect the aggressive flash forward. It just has to feel bad to miss out on that one. But it's
oh yeah,
good that,
you want to leave the game right now.
Yeah. You're like, all right, guys, that was
remake.
embarrassing.
Anyone getting that lag?
Weird bug on stage happened where I just looked really dumb for a second. That's not supposed to happen.
On the bright side, Rest has now won the jungle matchup for his team because Han is able to run in for the
he was
red buff.
making space.
Yeah, he's making space for his jungle. Right?
Good.
It's a genius play. No, Hana had actually gone for a clever path where he cleared the top side of his jungle, and most teams would assume then the Jarvan passed towards bottom side, but looked for a gank himself. There was a ward that spotted him out, but because Xerxes skipped over his red buff, which he likes to do a lot because he values getting the experience of the Krugs and Raptors so quickly, he almost died to those Krugs, so he had to give up that red.
And as we